This is another one I could see Rory Gilmore wearing. Hi, my name is Jessica and welcome back to my channel, Knits Made by J. Today I am bringing you 40 absolutely beautiful patterns that were released in the month of August 2025. These are my personal favorite patterns that were released in August. It was extremely hard to narrow it down to just 40 patterns to talk about today. The amount of absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, stunning patterns released was quite overwhelming in the month of August. There's just so much talent out there right now, so many beautiful patterns being released every single day. And like I said, it was not an easy feat to narrow it down to just 40 patterns. I really could not have narrowed it down any further. So what I noticed about the patterns released in the month of August is that there's a very obvious shift from summer garments into fall and winter garments being released. What season you're going into obviously depends on where you are located in the world. I'm in the United States, so summer is starting to wrap up. Kids are going back to school. There's a little bit of a chill in the air in the evenings, and fall is fast approaching. And I think I can maybe speak for a lot of us knitters here in the US in that we're very excited for fall and to knit fall and winter garments. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. I'll start off by talking about the lighter, more summer leaning garments that were released this month, and I will then move on to talk about the more fall, winter leaning garments and accessories that really stood out to me in the month of August. All right, let's get to it. The first pattern I'm going to share today is the Sanho top by Suuko Knit. This is a beautiful sleeveless top. It's knitted using Sadness Garn's Lena, which is a worsted weight yarn comprised of 53% cotton, 33% rayon, and 14% linen. I do think that it could be knitted up in a warmer wool for the more cooler months and layered lovely with a cardigan. It is knitted up using needle sizes US 6 and US 4, and that is 4 millimeters and 3.5 millimeter needles for those of us in Europe. And the gauge is 22 stitches by 30 rows. The designer doesn't go into very much detail on Ravelry in terms of how this top is constructed. I do think, however, I saw on her Instagram page that it is knitted from the bottom up. So that's just something to keep in mind. It features this beautiful kind of like ruffle hem, and if you look closely at the ruffle hem, it almost resembles waves, like from the sea. And I really think it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. And I do think it's very versatile. Obviously, it is more of a summer leaning garment, but I do think it could be layered and worn in the fall, or you could knit it up in a warmer yarn, like maybe a cotton and merino mix yarn, so that it is, still breathable but warmer in the fall months. So that is the Sanho top by Suuko Knit. Now, moving on to the next garment, it's absolutely beautiful, and it is the Meteor shower top by Ravid Ekshtain. This is a gorgeous top down constructed top, and it is knit up using G&G Filati Eucalypto, and it seems like this yarn, it has a sequence running through it. And one thing I'll say is that I did have trouble finding this yarn online, and it seems like the designer holds it double. It's a fingering weight yarn, and they hold it double for a sport weight yarn. And I really think that you could probably hold a light fingering or a sport weight yarn with a lace sequence yarn to get the same effect. But it's absolutely stunning. The color of this garment definitely to me represents the night sky, and the sequence represents the stars. And there's just something really beautiful about that. Um, Not to mention the absolutely stunning lace design feature that runs throughout the back of this garment. It is just gorgeous. I mean, it's so eye-catching. It's a very versatile piece. I do think there is something a little bit extra special about it, though, that makes it kind of lean more towards a nighttime um, garment. This garment is knit up using needle sizes US 2.5, which is a 3mm needle, and the gauge is 22 stitches by 23 rows. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this one. It's just absolutely stunning, so beautiful and eye-catching. So that is the Meteor Shower Top by Ravid Ekshtain. Now, moving on to the third pattern, and it is the Hafskjold Knits number 4 by Ida Hafskjold. Excuse my pronunciation, I apologize. This is a beautiful, beautiful button-up short sleeve top. It features a absolutely stunning lace motif throughout the entire body of the top. It almost resembles a cable and lace hybrid. If you look at it closely, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I haven't seen anything like it this summer. It has a straight fit, and it is knitted from the bottom up with sewn in sleeves, and it features a v-neck, and the front band is worked on picked up stitches at the very end. And the designer uses Sadness Yarn's Teen Lena, which is a fingering weight yarn, and it is made up of 53% cotton, 33% rayon, and 14% linen. The designer recommends using needle sizes US 1.5 and US 2.5. So those are sizes 2.5mm and 3mm needles for those of us in Europe. And the gauge is 28 stitches by 23 rows. So this top is just beautiful. It's so elegant. I love how this designer has paired casual structure with elegant lace. And again, like I mentioned, it almost seems like that lace, it kind of appears like a cable lace hybrid design. It's just beautiful. So that is the Hafskjold Knits number 4 by Ida Hafskjold. Moving on to the next pattern, and it is the Not to Be Missed top by Rachel Illsley. This is a gorgeous lace top from her macrame collection, which is a series of designs inspired by the beautiful textures of macrame art. And what's really amazing about this top is that it can be knit up with short sleeves for the summer, or the designer also provides instructions for knitting this up as a long sleeve top for cooler months. It's absolutely beautiful. It features many different intricate lace designs throughout the body of the top. And the designer uses Irish artisan yarn, which is a baby alpaca and silk blend yarn. So that's 70% alpaca and 30% silk. And it is fingering weight. And she recommends using needle sizes US 4, 2, and 6. So in millimeters, those would be needle sizes 3.5 millimeters, 2.75 millimeters, and 4 millimeters. And the gauge for this pattern is 21 stitches by 27 rows. This is another beautiful kind of transitional piece with the short sleeve or long sleeve option to choose from. It makes it very versatile. It's just beautiful. So that is the Not to Be Missed top by Rachel Illsley. The next pattern I want to talk about is the Seashore blouse by Veronika Lindberg. I talked about the seashore skirt that goes with this top in my last patterns video last month. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous blouse that pairs so beautifully with that skirt. And it is knitted from the top down in this beautiful, I guess, many beautiful lace motifs throughout. And the designer says that while it's lovely on its own, the seashore blouse also pairs with the seashore skirt to create a matching set that feels effortless and chic, perfect for slow summer days or coastal escapes. And it definitely gives coastal vibes. I couldn't agree more. I do think, though, it could be beautiful worn with a really nice pair of jeans for a more casual feel. I would say it would bring a more elevated feel to a casual outfit, if that makes sense. The designer, she uses Knitting for Olive's Pure Silk, which is a 100% silk fingering weight yarn. She recommends using needle sizes US 6 and 2.5, which are in millimeters, needle sizes 4 and 3. The gauge for this blouse is 21 stitches by 22 rows. And yeah, it is just absolutely stunning. The great thing about this designer is typically she releases tutorials for her garments. So I'm not sure that she has released one yet for this blouse, but I'm pretty sure she will. She did for the skirt, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, she does for the blouse too. So that is the Seashore blouse by Veronika Lindberg. So moving on, and I wanted to talk about the Pierre dress by Johanna Gehrisch. It's funny, I featured the top version of the Pierre dress in my June's pattern video, and I thought it was absolutely stunning. And I have to say, I think the dress is probably even more stunning. When I looked at it, I thought this would be a beautiful wedding dress. The designer, she features it in two different colors. You can see on Ravelry that there is a cream color version of this dress with just one buttonhole at the back of the dress. And you'll see that she also features this pattern in a pink colorway yarn. I do think the pink version that she knit up for the pictures here with the several buttons at the back do give it a even more bridal feel, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It is absolutely gorgeous. It features the same lace motif that is featured in the Pierre top. It's just carried throughout the entire length of the dress. It's gorgeous. It is knit from the top down using Knitting for Olive's cotton merino, which is a fingering weight yarn comprised of 70% cotton and 30% merino. She uses needle size US 4, which in millimeters is needle size 3.5. And the gauge for this pattern is 22 stitches by 30 rows. This garment stood out to me for obvious reasons. It's honestly kind of breathtaking to look at, and I can't even imagine the satisfaction of wearing this garment to a special occasion, knowing that you knitted this entire dress yourself. It is just beautiful. So that is the Pierre dress by Johanna Gehrisch. The next pattern is the vegetable cable short sleeve bottom up sweater by Daeri Kim. And this is a short sleeve sweater, and it features a beautiful simple cable that runs vertically throughout the entire top. So the sleeves, the front, and the back are all worked separately and then seamed together. The designer says that it allows you to experience a more structured shoulder line and garment shaping that only this method can achieve. So that's why she has chosen to construct the top with each piece worked separately and then seamed together, as opposed to worked in the round from the bottom up. It is knitted using a DK 100% cotton. She doesn't specify which yarn she uses, but she does recommend using needle sizes US 4 and 6, which are sizes 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles. And she has a gauge listed here of 28 stitches by 36 rows. And I think this top is beautiful. I love how it is a DK weight yarn, so it is going to provide a little bit of warmth, and the sleeves are short, so it's kind of versatile in that you could wear it in the summer or in the warmer fall months. I really like the hem featured on the arms and on the bottom of this garment too. It's giving me preppy vibes, to be honest with you, although I'm sure it can be worn many different ways. And I think it's just beautiful, and it would be stunning paired with a beautiful pair of jeans. And yeah, that is the vegetable cable short sleeve bottom up sweater by Daeri Kim. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is the Moorlands sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. This designer has been releasing some beautiful designs this summer, and this one is no different. The designer describes this sweater as a simple sweater worked from the top down in stockinette stitch. It is a slightly shorter fit sweater, but the designer does say that it can be adjusted to suit your preference. It also appears to feature a drop shoulder sleeve, just to give a more casual feel to the sweater. So for the yarn used, the designer uses both a lace weight yarn held with a fingering weight yarn, and those yarns are Deluxe Lace by Sizzlerget, which is comprised of 70% alpaca, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. And she holds it with Cashmere Sock by Sizzlerget, and that is a fingering weight yarn comprised of 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. I mean, this sweater must feel so soft and so cozy. It's somehow elegant yet casual with that drop shoulder. For me, it's giving like coastal grandma vibes. I don't know why, but it's just absolutely beautiful and so cozy and perfect for fall. The designer recommends using needle sizes US 4 and 6 in millimeters, that is 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles, and the gauge for this pattern is 21 stitches by 28 rows. So that is the Moorland sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. Now moving on to our next pattern, and it is the Lyséa sweater by Josephine E. I just think this sweater is adorable. It is knit up in this beautiful like bubblegum pink yarn, and it is knitted from the top down, and it features a decorative drop stitch throughout many areas of the garment. It looks like it's on both the midsection or the upper torso of the sweater and then on the top part of the arms, and it creates this almost like waffle like. And the designer says that she uses 3 strands of lace held with 1 strand of bulky yarn. And the bulky yarn is Bella by Perman, and that is comprised of 70% mohair, 20% wool, and 5% nylon. And then she also has 3 different lace weight mohairs listed here. Those are Silk Mohair by Isager Yarn, Teen Silk Mohair by Sadness Garn, and Number 10 by Unling. And those all are comprised of mohair and silk. The designer recommends using needle size 7 millimeters. The gauge for this sweater is 13 stitches for a 4-inch swatch. And this pattern stood out to me. I think for obvious reasons. It's just super feminine and playful, and it's just gorgeous. It features this kind of cinched in waist with this peplum hem, and the waffle texture on it just gives a kind of casual feel, but it's just like a very kind of like delicate feature, and I just think it's beautiful. So that is the Lyséa sweater by Josephine E. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is the Ivy sweater by PetiteKnit. If you follow me here on YouTube, you've probably seen that I recently finished making the Ivy blouse, and spoiler alert, I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. This pattern released by PetiteKnit this month is the sweater version of that blouse, and it looks like it is constructed similarly, if not the same. The only difference I'm seeing is the yarn weight. So this sweater, just like the blouse, is worked seamlessly from the top down, starting at the yoke. There's some German rows in there for shaping. There's some increases and decreases in regards to the shoulders. And it's a very easy pattern to follow. I feel like PetiteKnit's patterns are all very easy to follow. She does a really good job of laying them out very clearly. And she recommends using Snef Nug by Kama Rosa, which is a bulky weight yarn comprised of 55% alpaca, 35% cotton, and 10% merino. The designer recommends using needle size US 8, which in millimeters is needle size 5. The gauge on this is 16 stitches by 24 rows, and I think given the size of the needle and the weight of the yarn, it being bulky, this sweater is going to knit up really quick. I also think it would be a perfect pattern for a beginner knitter if they're looking to knit up a sweater. And I think overall, this is just a really cool pattern. Um, I think it's going to be really cozy, knitted up using that bulky weight alpaca yarn. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this one. So that is the Ivy Sweater by PetiteKnit. So moving on to the next pattern, and that is the Electrine Sweater by Johanna Gehrisch. So technically this was a July release. It was released on July 30th, and it's just so beautiful. So I thought I'd break the rules and add it in with our August patterns. This sweater by Johanna Gehrisch is knitted in the round from the top down, and it is mostly knit up in stockinette stitch, but as you can see, when you get to the bottom half of the body of the garment and towards the bottom half of the sleeves, it features this beautiful lace motif design throughout the rest of the garment. And it's just gorgeous. I'm still trying to decipher what exactly it is. It to me it looks like leaves. So it makes me think of fall, like that beautiful like pea shoot green color paired with that lace motif definitely gives me fall vibes. So the designer refers to this sweater as a beautiful romantic lace pattern. And I definitely agree. There is something very kind of like romantic and whimsical about this sweater. It's, like I said, worked in stockinette stitch and that beautiful lace pattern from the top down, and then it's finished off with I-cord edging. The designer uses Premia by Lamana, which is a lace weight yarn, and that is comprised of 60% mohair and 40% silk. And she holds that with Como by Lamana, which is a DK weight yarn, and that is 100% merino. So it's going to be really cozy, really soft, and perfect for fall months here in the US. She recommends using needle sizes US 4 and 6, which in millimeters are needle sizes 3.5 and 4 millimeters. The gauge for this sweater is 21 stitches by 32 rows. And I don't have anything else to add about this sweater. I just think it's beautiful. It's very romantic. It's very whimsical. I think it would be beautiful worn with a pair of maybe jean shorts while it's still very warm going into the fall months. That is the Electrine Sweater by Johanna Gehrisch. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is the May Sweater by AprilKnits. This sweater stood out to me for its elegant, timeless, classic design. It's beautiful. It is knit up mostly using stockinette stitch, but then features these beautiful wide sleeves at the end with a gorgeous lace pattern. And this design, while it's slightly oversized and cropped, it still offers what the designer refers to as a timeless look. And I definitely agree. It's just somehow very elegant, even though it features those more modern, kind of boxy, oversized, cropped elements to the design. And the designer uses Lena by Sadness Garn, and that is a worsted weight yarn comprised of 53% cotton, 33% rayon, and 14% linen. She recommends using needle sizes US 8 and 10, and in millimeters, those are needle sizes 5 and 6. And the gauge for this sweater is 16 stitches by 26 rows. And again, I just think this is a very timeless top, very elegant, could be worn with jeans, or maybe even like a white jean like the designer features here in her photos. I just think it's beautiful. I think if you knit this one up, you'll have it forever. So that is the May sweater by AprilKnits. So the next pattern I'm going to talk about is the Soft Trail sweater by Softknittings. This sweater really stood out to me because of its design elements and its just edgy appeal. It features this really cool knit and purl feature throughout the entire body of the sweater. And then it also features like I-cord bind off, like at the drop shoulder and on the sleeves. And I think having that kind of highlighted by using an alternative color to the main body of the sweater gives it this like really edgy feel. So yeah, I really, really like this one. The designer uses a fingering weight yarn held double, and she recommends using BC Garn's Baby Alpaca, which is a light fingering weight yarn, and it is 100% alpaca. Or you could use Knitting for Olive's Cotton Merino, which is a light fingering weight yarn made up of 70% cotton and 30% merino. She recommends using needle sizes US 2.5 and 4, which in millimeters is sizes 3 and 3.5 millimeters. The gauge on this sweater is 23 stitches by 34 rows. And again, I just want to highlight the edginess and coolness of this sweater. I think the unique design elements really sets it apart from anything else out there right now. And I could totally see myself wearing this in the fall. I really love this like pea shoot green color that the designer has knitted it up in. And I think it would also be really cool in kind of like a pumpkiny orange colorway for the fall season. But yeah, that is the Soft Trail sweater by Softknittings. Okay, so moving on to the next pattern, and it is a pair of socks, and these socks are called Ruffles Socks by Vicky Morose, and I picked these socks for no other reason other than they're super cute to look at. I think they are adorable. They are knitted from the cuff down, and the designer uses Opal 4 Fock by Zorger Garn, and that is a light fingering weight yarn, and it's made up of 75% wool and 25% nylon. And the designer offers many different size options in her pattern for these socks, which is awesome. Designer recommends using needle size US 1.5, which in millimeters is size 2.5 millimeters. The gauge for these socks is 36 stitches by 50 rows. I think these socks will knit up very quickly. They're so cute with their little ruffle top. I absolutely love them. Okay, so it's getting to that time of year where we're starting to think about what hats we might want to knit up for the cooler months. And so I'd like to highlight this pattern. It's called Yale Crest by Taylor Harris, and it is a beautiful cable design hat. It's worked from the brim up with decreases to shape the crown of the hat. And if you look closely, it features this just very beautiful, very intricate cable design. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love how the designer knits this up in this like dark, moody, like charcoal colorway yarn. I just love it paired with that intricate cable design. The designer uses Tov DK by Wool Folk, which is a sport weight yarn, and it is 100% merino. She recommends using needle sizes US 4 and 5, which in millimeters is sizes 3.5 and 3.75. And it has a gauge of 35 stitches by 36 rows. This hat will definitely be a labor of love, but really I think it would be worth it. It is so beautiful and so unique. So that is the Yale Crest by Taylor Harris. Moving on to the next pattern, and it is a poncho. It is called the Grand View Heights Poncho by Mary Pranisa, and it is this beautiful poncho with this beautiful large cable design that runs vertically through the middle or the upper middle part of the poncho, and then it has this tie waist to cinch it in. It's gorgeous. I love the brown colorway used here in the photos on Ravelry. It is knitted up in Techno by Blue Sky Fibers, and that is a bulky weight yarn comprised of 68% alpaca, 22% silk, and 10% merino. She recommends using needle size US 11, which is in millimeters size 8, and the gauge is 14 stitches by 22 rows. This is quite a large garment, but I do think it's going to knit up very quickly using that yarn and that needle size. The designer doesn't give away any details on how this poncho is constructed, but they do say that they recommend an experience level of advanced beginner. So that is the Grand View Heights Poncho by Mary Pranisa. The next pattern I want to talk about is another sweater, and it is called the Espiga Sweater by Melanie Villegas. Translated into English, the sweater is called the Herringbone Sweater. This sweater stood out to me for its beautiful color work and the motif along the yoke of the sweater paired with the beautiful fall colors that are used here. The designer says that the herringbone pattern is reminiscent of natural patterns, branches, leaves, or fields, which makes it perfect for the fall time of year. She does not recommend any particular yarn or any particular brand of yarn. She just recommends using a DK weight yarn. I personally would probably go for a 100% merino yarn, but merino is my favorite yarn, so I'm slightly biased, and you can use whatever you wish. So the needle sizes recommended by the designer are sizes US 8 and US 7, and in millimeters that is sizes 5 and 4.5. The gauge on this sweater is 17 stitches by 26 rows. The designer says that the sweater is designed to embrace cold days with warmth and natural style, and it really is so beautiful. So that is the Espiga Sweater by Melanie Villegas. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is Golden Dust by Pope Vergara. It is a beautiful top-down constructed sweater. And what really stood out to me about this sweater is the different textures that the designer has going on here. It looks like at the very top where the yoke of the sweater is, it has a beautiful lace design, and on each side of that lace design is this like really cool braided feature, and then the bottom half of the garment below that is knit up in stockinette stitch. It's just gorgeous, and I really love pretty much every design that this designer has put out. This sweater is so interesting to look at. She also uses beads throughout the yoke of this sweater, and what she says in her description is that if you choose to add them, The beads bring a shimmering touch that evokes golden dust suspended in air. And I'm guessing that's why this garment is called Golden Dust. So the designer uses 3 different yarns when knitting up this sweater. The first is a silk mohair by Art Yarns. It is a lace weight mohair comprised of 60% mohair and 40% silk. She pairs that with a 80% merino and 20% cashmere goat yarn, and that is called Merino Cloud by Art Yarns, and it is a sport weight yarn. And she also holds that with beaded mohair and sequins by Art Yarns, and that is a DK weight yarn comprised of 60% silk, 40% mohair, and I guess some beads and sequins too. She recommends using needle sizes US 5 and 3, and in millimeters, those are needle sizes 3.75 and 3.25 millimeters. The gauge on this sweater is 22 stitches by 28 rows. And yeah, that is the Golden Dust sweater by Pope Vergara. It's beautiful. These colors scream autumn to me, and I just love the texture, the beads, and just how interesting it is to look at. So moving on to the next pattern, and that is Prairie Rose by Edna Taylor. And this is a beautiful V-neck cardigan. It's worked from the top down. It features saddle shoulders. And then, as you can see, it features this beautiful color work on the shoulders, down the sides of the cardigan, and then also on the cuffs of the sleeve. And then the designer pairs that with this really cute lace motif at the bottom half of the cardigan too. The designer says that the name Prairie Rose is derived from California native wild roses, similar to the Darling Colorwork chart. And so this is a really beautiful, special garment, in my opinion. I really love the sentiment behind it, and I love anything that features roses. They seem to be really popular right now in patterns that are currently being released. The designer uses a DK weight yarn, and that is Pishkun DK from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and that is comprised of 100% wool. She recommends using needle size US 6 and 3, which in millimeters is sizes 4 and 3.25. The gauge for this garment is 20 stitches by 28 rows. And the designer doesn't really go into much more detail about its construction. I just love the contrast in colors that the designer uses here. It looks like something that you would see in a Free People store. That's the kind of vibe I get from it. Very California, very laid back, very casual, very Free People. So that is the Prairie Rose cardigan by Edna Taylor. The next pattern I want to talk about is the Cozy Cottage Cardi by Ann-Kathrin Stoll. And this cardigan stood out to me instantly. It has me honestly very excited for fall. I want to knit this up immediately and then go cozy up on the couch and wear it while I sip my pumpkin spice latte. It features this beautiful cable design throughout, and that is paired with a half brioche design too. It is knitted from the top down, and the designer says that it should be worn oversized for a casual and comfy fit. It's just gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And the designer uses Baby Alpaca Los Andes by Pasculi, and that is a bulky weight yarn comprised of 100% alpaca. So you just know this is going to be so cozy. The designer recommends using needle sizes US 10 and 8, which in millimeters is sizes 6 and 5. And the gauge on this garment is 14 stitches by 25 rows. So this should knit up very quick, even though it does have cables and half brioche to knit up. I do still think it's going to knit up very quickly, and I think it's going to be so worth it because it just looks so cozy. I really feel if I knit this up, I'm going to live in it all winter, all fall, and I'll have it forever. So that was the Cozy Cottage Cardi by Ann-Kathrin Stoll. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is the Daphne cardigan by Ning.tt. And this cardigan stood out to me because of all of the beautiful cable designs that are worked throughout this cardigan. And then also its really cool and unique neckline and button band that you can see on the cardigan. This garment to me makes me think elevated, sophisticated cottagecore. So make a cottagecore but elegant, I guess. This is a bottom-up constructed cardigan, and the pattern includes full charts for all the stitch patterns, so all the cables, a concise written instruction, and then also video tutorials for the neckline construction too. The designer uses a DK weight yarn called Som Knit Rusk, which it looks like they hold double. It doesn't say here how that yarn is comprised, but I would take a guess and say it's probably 100% wool. I think a 100% Peruvian wool could work really well for this garment to give it some structure and some warmth. And the needle size recommended by the designer is a US size 7, which in millimeters is size 4.5 millimeters. And the gauge is 25 stitches by 35 rows. And again, this cardigan stood out to me because of its beautiful design in terms of like all of those beautiful intricate cables that are worked throughout, and then that neckline and the button band, and then it kind of has this like boxy type feel to it, but it still maintains an elegant feel to it also. So that is the Daphne cardigan by Ning.tt. Okay, the next pattern is the bowline dress by Wisteria Knitting. I love this dress. It screams 90s to me. I grew up in the 90s, so for me, when I look at this dress, it's very nostalgic and very beautiful. I absolutely love the bow tie straps and then that cute little slit on the left hand side of the dress. I just think it's really edgy, but also really beautiful. The designer says that it can be styled in countless ways, and she says pair it with sandals in the summer or layer with a cardigan and boots in cooler seasons. I do think this would be really cool paired with like some chunky like black leather boots and a gorgeous like lace top like the designer features here in her pictures. I just think it's awesome. Such an awesome edgy piece. And it is constructed from the top down, starting with the straps. And the designer uses Lena by Sadness Garn, which is a worsted weight yarn comprised of 53% cotton, 33% rayon, and 14% linen. And I do think you could knit this up in a merino or maybe a cotton merino too. I think it would work beautifully in those types of yarns as well. The designer recommends using needle size US 6 and 4, and the gauge for this garment is 21 stitches by 29 rows. And again, I love this dress. It's so cute. It's so 90s, and it has an edginess to it. So that is the bowline dress by Wisteria Knitting. The next pattern I want to share is the Still Life sweater by Johanna, and it looks so cozy and perfect for fall, and that's why it stood out to me. It features a beautiful and quite large lace motif that runs from the top to the bottom in the center of the garment. It also has this beautiful cowl neck that the designer refers to as a squishy cowl neck. It has these beautiful relaxed drop shoulder sleeves, and then this really cool like high waist slit up the sides of the sweater. And this particular design is worked from the top down, and it is worked holding two yarns together. The first is Fingering by Tuku Wool, which is a fingering weight yarn, and it doesn't say what it's comprised of here. That is held with Silk Mohair by Tuku Wool, and that is a lace weight mohair, and that is comprised of 70% mohair and 30% silk. And the designer recommends using needle size US 7, which is 4.5 millimeters. And the gauge is 16 stitches by 25 rows. So this should knit up pretty quick. It looks so cozy and so like something you want to wear when you go for a stroll on a cool fall day. And I love the lace feature that runs throughout the center of the garment. From far away, it almost looks like cable, but when you look at it more closely, it is this beautiful, beautiful lace design. So that is Still Life by Johanna. So we have another sweater to talk about, and that is called Ogden by Veda Romanenkova, and it is a bottom up constructed sweater featuring these beautiful cable designs. I love how this designer pairs these very large cable designs on each side of the front panel of the sweater with these really beautiful smaller cable designs that run throughout the center and down the sleeve. I think it's really clever, and it kind of brings like a more modern feel to a cable design sweater. The designer uses Far by Wool Folk, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it is 100% merino. I absolutely love the color of the sweater that she has photographed here. It's beautiful. It's like a muted teal almost. The designer recommends using needle size US 6, which in millimeters is needle size 4. And the gauge on this sweater is 22 stitches by 30 rows. So that is the Ogden by Veda Romanenkova. The next pattern is called Amaryllis by Isabella Clark. And this is a gorgeous sweater that is knit up using mostly the brioche stitch throughout. It features this gorgeous lace detail at the very top by the neckline, and then it also has these extra long cuffs on the sleeves and a tie waist that gives it almost like a peplum feel to the sweater. It's knitted up using one single strand of mohair lace. It almost kind of feels folksy, if that makes sense. Like it has this folksy fall feel to it. And I think it's really beautiful. I haven't seen anything quite like it. It is knit up using Berenice by Derurum Natura, which is a lace weight, 55% mohair, 25% silk, 20% merino yarn, and the needle size recommended is US 000, which I've never seen before, and US size 3. In millimeters, those are sizes 1.5 and 3.25 millimeter needles. The gauge for this garment is 20 stitches by 50 rows. And just to give it a little bit of context, the designer says that this pullover or sweater is named after its inspiration, which is the amaryllis flower. It's just really beautiful. It has a lovely sentiment behind it with the amaryllis flowers. It's very feminine, it's very folksy, it's very fall. It's just beautiful. So that is the Amaryllis by Isabella Clark. The next pattern is called Vivid Feathers by Ricky Eliasson. This is a beautiful quintessential fall garment in my opinion. I would refer to this as a sweater dress. It looks like the perfect piece to put on when you're wanting to go out and run tasks, but you still want to look put together. I think it would be beautiful with some like tall knee-high leather boots. It's just a perfect piece for fall and winter. It is knitted from the top down and it features moss stitch throughout. The designer uses two yarns held together. The first is Peruvian by Filicolana, which is a Aran weight 100% Peruvian wool, and they hold that with Tilia by Filicolana, which is a lace weight mohair, and that is comprised of 70% mohair and 30% silk. And they recommend using needle sizes US 8 and US 10, which in millimeters is 5 and 6 millimeter needles. And the gauge on this garment is 16 stitches by 20 rows. And another thing about this pattern that is awesome is that it is free. So that is the Vivid Feathers by Ricky Eliasson, a perfect fall and winter garment. Moving on, the next three patterns I'm going to talk about are from the same designer, and that designer is Lucia Ruiz de Aguiar. And I stumbled upon this designer's patterns, and quite honestly, there was more of them, and I couldn't feature them all, but it was extremely hard to pick which three I wanted to talk about today, because they were all just so beautiful. And the first one is Celtia, and it is a gorgeous, very unusual cardigan that is worked from the top down, and you can see it features these like baubles paired with what looks like some cabling and I think a moss stitch throughout the rest of the body of the cardigan, and then these like really high ribbed hems on the bottom, and then also I think on the sleeves. Let's have a look here. And yes, also on the sleeves. And then if you look at the arms, you'll see this really cool like cable, just one cable run down the length of the arm. So it's very cool, very well thought out design and very unique. Like I said, the designer works it from the top down. She works it up using Highland Lalura and Cloud Lalura. I'm not seeing much information on these yarns here. I'm going to guess it's a Highland wool held with a silk mohair. And those yarns are fingering and DK weight yarns. And the needle size recommended for this cardigan is needle size US 8, which is in millimeters a size 5 millimeter needle. And the gauge for this garment is 15 stitches by 22 rows. So what I really love about this particular design is its versatility. You'll notice if you look on Ravelry that the designer has featured this cardigan worn in two different ways. The first way is with a oversized plaid shirt underneath and the model is wearing this like cool beanie hat, and it looks very edgy, paired with this shirt and hat. And I love that look, but then also the designer has modeled it with a very kind of feminine ruffled blouse underneath also, which shows how it can lean feminine too, depending on how you wear it. So to me, it's very versatile. I've never seen baubles paired with cabling like that, and then paired with the moss stitch, and then the kind of like the high ribbing that's on the hem of the body of the garment and the sleeves kind of brings a modern feel to this piece. So yeah, I really love this cardigan. I think it's so unique. So that is the Celtia or Celtia by Lucia Ruiz de Aguar. Now moving on to this designer's second pattern that I have picked out, and that is the Roman sweater. And for me, when I look at this sweater, it to me looks like something that Rory from the Gilmore Girls would wear. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments if you agree. So this is the Roman sweater. This sweater is worked in the round from the top down, starting at the neckline. It is mostly knitted up using stockinette stitch, except for this beautiful cable and bobble design that you see running down the front center of the sweater. It's just beautiful. The designer uses Highland Lalura yarn, which is a DK weight yarn. It doesn't say here on Ravelry, but I'm going to assume it is most likely 100% Highland wool. The designer uses size US 6, which is 4 millimeters, and the gauge for this garment is 16 stitches by 24 rows. I absolutely love this sweater. It's gorgeous. I love the yarn that's used. It's like a deep burgundy, almost brown color yarn, perfect for fall, and it's just beautiful. Kind of got that preppy feel to it. Like I said, I could see Rory from Gilmore Girls wearing this. So that is the Roman sweater by Lucia Ruiz de Aguar. Now moving on to this designer's final pattern that I'm going to feature, and that is called the Flora sweater. And this is another top-down constructed sweater starting at the neckline again. And the designer uses Alpaquena by Lalura and Cloud by Lalura. Excuse my pronunciation. Um, Again, it doesn't give much info on here on the yarn content, but I'm going to guess it is a alpaca yarn held with a mohair, and the alpaca quina is a DK weight yarn, and the cloud is a fingering weight yarn, and they are held together throughout the entirety of this garment. And the needle size recommended by the designer is US size 7, which in millimeters is a 4.5 millimeter needle. The gauge on this garment is 16 stitches by 22 rows. So this sweater to me is very unique. It stood out to me for its bold, contrasting colors that are used, as well as the size of this floral motif that's worked across the arms and the body of the sweater. It's just stunning. It's so special. And I love how the designer has kind of dress this up in an edgy kind of way too. I do think, just like this designer's other pieces, it is very versatile, and it's just very beautiful. And I just think it's perfect for fall. It's going to be super cozy with that alpaca yarn, and the colorway used here is very indicative of fall type colors. And yeah, I think this one is definitely a compliment getter. So that is the Flora sweater by Lucia Ruiz de Aguar. Okay, moving on to our next pattern, and that is the Fallen Sweater by Moray Knit. This is a beautiful cabled sweater, perfect for fall. That's why it stood out to me. This sweater is worked from the top down and features drop shoulder sleeves and one by one ribbing on the hem of the body and cuffs of the sleeves, and then also the neckline. It seems to me like there's many different cable designs on here. I think this is more of a modern take on a cable sweater, just because some of the designs on the sleeves of the sweater are quite modern looking. I've never seen anything like it before. And this designer uses Sum Knit New Borum with Sum Knit Fluffy. And those are a fingering weight yarn and a lace weight yarn held together to give you a sport weight feel. I don't see any information on Ravelry on what these yarns are comprised of. I can dig a bit deeper and put it on the bottom of the screen here if I can find that information. And the recommended needle size is US size 6 and 2.5, which in millimeters are needle sizes 4 and 3 millimeter needles. The gauge is 26 stitches by 34 rows. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's very cleverly constructed and designed. And yeah, I don't have anything else to add about this one. So that is the Fallen Sweater by Moray Knit. Okay, so moving on to the next pattern, and that is the Flower Child Cardigan by Wool and Pine. This is a beautiful cardigan that features a gorgeous lace motif and bobble throughout the yoke of the cardigan. It's just gorgeous. The lace motif resembles leaves, and those baubles look like they resemble some type of berry, perfect for fall and winter coming. And it's just gorgeous. It gives almost this type of, I guess, vintage feel. The designer notes that they work it from the top down, and the designer says, with lace that blossoms across the yoke, baubles like little flower buds, so they're flower buds, not berries, and a vintage inspired picot collar flower child cardigan feels like something timeless yet alive with fresh energy. And it really is beautiful. I love the color that they chose for this cardigan. The yarn that they used is called Classic DK made by Haley Bailey, and it is a DK weight 100% merino wool. The designer recommends using needle sizes US 4 and 5, and in millimeters, those are size 3.5 and 3.75 needles. The gauge for this cardigan is 20 stitches by 28 rows. And really, this cardigan just stood out to me for its beauty. I really love this construction of cardigan. Even the cardigan I'm wearing right now, the Whitmore cardigan, features a very similar construction in that it's working lace up the top yoke and down the top arms and then stockinette throughout after that. I really love that construction. It really is timeless and elegant. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add about this one. It's just beautiful. So yeah, that was the Flower Child Cardigan by Wool and Pine. So the next pattern is the Glenif Sweater by Tanya Farley. This sweater is beautiful. It features this gorgeous colorwork yoke at the very top, and it features, I guess, let's see, one, two, three, 4 different patterns on the yoke, and then on the body of the sweater there is more color work, but it's just one design throughout the rest of the body of the sweater. It's gorgeous. I love what the designer says about this sweater, and I'm going to read it to you just now. It says that this pattern was inspired by the beautiful Glenif horseshoe, where I spend countless hours walking my dog and talking to the sheep, and it changes through the seasons. And then, for any of you who don't know, the Glenif Horseshoe is a walking trail in County Sligo in Ireland. So I love that it has this tie to Ireland, which I know I've mentioned before is where I'm originally from. And Sligo is actually a part of Ireland that I have yet to visit, but it's on my list and it is an absolutely beautiful part of the country. So this sweater just stood out to me for its sentiment, for its beauty in its design. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I particularly love the sweater that she has up here in this kind of rust color. And for me, it just reminds me of fall. But if you look closely, you'll see in the designs there's like a leaf kind of motif, and then there's, or should I say, color design, and then there's also what resembles like a snowflake going across the top of it. So I really do think it does kind of speak to different seasons of the year and can be worn in fall and winter. The designer uses quite a few different yarns here. The first is Kilcara Soft Donegal Tweed Singles by Donegal Yarns, which is a fingering weight 100% merino. The next is Soft Donegal by Retrosaria Rosa Pomar. That is also a fingering weight yarn and 100% wool. The next is BFL by Masham 4-ply by Woolen Twine Fiber Studio, another fingering weight yarn. This one's comprised of 75% blue-faced Leicester and 25% Masham. And then the next one is BFL Romney 4-ply by Woolen Twine Fiber Studio. That's another fingering weight yarn, and it's comprised of 75% Romney and 25% blue-faced Leicester. All beautiful, beautiful yarns. The designer recommends using needle sizes US 2.5 and US 2. In millimeters, those needles are sizes 3 and 2.75 millimeters. The gauge on this sweater is 28 stitches by 33 rows. And I think most would agree that this is a absolutely beautiful, beautiful sweater, perfect for the cooler months, so cleverly and artistically put together. It's just gorgeous. And again, I couldn't love the story behind it more. Its ties to Ireland, of course, touch my heart. So that is the Glenif sweater by Tanya Farley. The next pattern is a vest, and it is called the Sacco Round Neck Vest by Magdalena Parker. This vest was very striking to me. It really jumped out at me. Just for its intricate design. It looks like there is garter stitch paired with this like very light cable that goes throughout the entirety of the vest to create this beautiful, striking, continuous design. I absolutely love it. I think it's so beautiful. And this vest is knitted from the top down. It is started from the shoulders, which German short rows are used to create a slope. Then the shoulders are worked separately and then joined by casting on stitches at the center front of the vest. and then the body of the vest is worked down, and then the neckline and the sleeves are finished off at the end by picking up stitches. What I love about this vest is that it can be worn in the warmer months, it can be worn as it starts to get cooler. I think it would be beautiful layered over a crisp white shirt. And I really feel like it could be worn in many different settings too. It could be worn in the office or it could be worn casually too. I really think it's beautiful. There is something very elegant about it. The designer uses Fluff Alpaca by Lulu Knits, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it is comprised of 32% alpaca, 32% cotton, 21% merino, and 15% silk. That sounds to me like the most perfect yarn. You get the warmth from the alpaca, the breathability from the cotton, the softness from the merino, and then silk, of course, is just so luxurious. And the designer recommends using needle size US 8, which is 5 millimeters. And the gauge on this vest is 18 stitches by 28 rows. I really, really love this pattern. I might actually add this one to my personal wish list. So that is the Sacco Round Neck Vest by Magdalena Parker. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is the two-way pullover My Size by Min Young Han. And this is a beautiful everyday sweater, mostly knit up in stockinette stitch, but it features this beautiful delicate cable down the center of the arms and then also down the side of the body of the sweater. It's very simple and understated, but very beautiful at the same time. I think it would be a great pattern for beginner knitters, or at least intermediate knitters who are beginners at cables. So this is a great, great pattern. And the designer uses I'm Wool 2 by Nakyang Yarn, which is a fingering weight yarn, and it is 100% merino. The designer recommends using needle size US 6 and 4, which in millimeters is size 4 and 3.5 millimeter needles. And the gauge for this sweater is 19 stitches by 28 rows. Again, it's just another beautiful, like understated everyday sweater. And that is the two-way pullover My Size by Min Young Han. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is Rim Frost by Kari Rasmussen. Now, I'm very excited about this particular garment for many, many reasons. Number one, it's a vest that ties at the side. Love those. Number two, it uses shimmer yarn. I mean, who wouldn't love that? Number three, it features this gorgeous lace motif throughout the entire body of the vest. And number four, it features a scalloped edge at the bottom, and I love scalloped edge on garments. I want to read here what the designer says about this pattern just to give you a feel of the inspiration behind it. It says, Rim Frost is a richly detailed slipover, knitted in a beautiful leaf pattern. The Rim Frost slipover evokes thoughts of the first frost settling over the forest lake and the leaves on the woodland floor covering the landscape in a lavish patchwork of crystals. As dawn breaks on a crisp winter morning, the first rays of sunlight reflect in those tiny ice formations, casting a soft and enchanting light across the forest. Now, I've never seen a garment be described so beautifully, but it is very inspiring. And this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous vest, um, or I guess as the pattern refers to it as a slipover. It's a beautiful slipover. This slipover is knitted from the bottom up using Tilia by Filicolana, which is a lace weight mohair comprised of 70% mohair and 30% silk. The designer uses 3 strands of lace held together to give a sport weight. And these lace weight yarns are also held with Filicolana Paya, which is a lace weight shimmery yarn too. So it's 3 strands of yarn all together. 2 of them are from the Tilia line and 1 from the Paya line, which gives it this gorgeous shimmer. The needle size recommended by the designer is US size 2.5 and 4. And in millimeters, that size is 3 millimeters and 3.5 millimeters. The gauge on the slipover is 28 stitches by 30 rows. And again, it's absolutely beautiful. I love the scalloped edge. I love the lace detailing. And quite frankly, I just love the story behind it. So this is the Rim Frost by Kari Rasmussen. Moving on to the next pattern, and that is Susu 2 by Nora Gowan. This is a beautiful top-down constructed casual long sleeve tee. I would refer to it as a long sleeve tee as opposed to a sweater because the yarn used is a light fingering weight yarn. It features stockinette stitch, what looks like moss stitch, and then this beautiful cable design down the center of the body of the garment. It's just gorgeous, and it stood out to me for very obvious reasons. I know I say that a lot, but it is very strikingly beautiful. That cable design is just gorgeous. The designer uses Uncommon Everyday by the Uncommon thread, and that is a fingering weight 100% merino wool. She recommends using needle sizes US 3 and US 2. And the gauge for this garment is 30 stitches by 40 rows. So a little bit of a labor of love here. I don't really have much else to add. I think it's a beautiful long sleeve top slash sweater, perfect for the fall months when it's still a bit warmer out. I love the casualness that the kind of like drop sleeve gives to this garment. I really think it's just beautiful. So that is the Susu 2 by Nora Gowan. Okay, so moving on to the next pattern, and that is Flumster Chaos by Knit by Selena. This is a beautiful bottom-up constructed, oversized, boxy sweater, and it features these really cool floral designs throughout the entirety of the sweater. It also has these wide sleeves, which gives it this kind of like feminine feel. It would pair really great over some leggings or maybe some cute jean shorts when the weather is still nice outside. To me, it looks like something that you would see in Free People. It's got this kind of like vintage feel to it, yet it still looks really fresh. I don't know how the designer did it, but I think that makes this piece really special. The yarn used by the designer is Fivel by Rauma, which is a Aran yarn, and it's 100% Norwegian wool. The needle sizes recommended by the designer are needle size US 8, and in millimeters, that's size 5 millimeters. The gauge on this garment is 18 stitches by 10 rows. And yeah, I just think this is a very unique garment, and I think it's very modern yet very reminiscent of vintage design. It's just, there's something really cool about it. I love it. So that's the Blumpster Chaos by Knit by Selena. The next pattern is the Brady Sweater by Sadness Garn. This is another beautiful cable knit sweater, perfect for fall and winter. It does kind of give off this timeless feel, but I think the way that it's constructed, especially in the shoulder and arm area, give it a more kind of casual, fresh, modern feel to this sweater. This is another one I could see Rory Gilmore wearing, perhaps more towards the beginning and earlier episodes of the show. I love how Sadness Garn shows us this sweater in one color and then also in two different colors with this kind of like banded stripe across the center of it. It kind of gives a more kind of collegial preppy feel to it when it's worked that way. So this pattern uses Sadness Garn's Tyne Silk Mohair, which is a lace weight yarn comprised of 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool. And they hold it with Sadness Garn's Sunday, which is a fingering weight yarn, and it is 100% merino. So it's going to be so super soft and cozy for fall and winter. Sadness Garn recommends using needle size US 4, which is in millimeters size 3.5. And the sweater has a gauge of 28 stitches per 4-inch gauge swatch. So that is the Brady Sweater by Sadness Garn. So the next pattern I'm very excited about, and I will definitely be adding to my personal wish list, and that is the Rosy Sweater by Lanish by Lene Holmes Samso. This is a stunning sweater. Again, we're seeing roses featured in a sweater this month, and this garment is worked from the top down. It features this beautiful high neck and then 2 rows of this gorgeous rose colorwork pattern along the body and then also into the sleeves. What's really cool about this sweater is that it is constructed in such a way where the knitter is always working the color work from the right side as they're knitting it up. The designer uses 2 yarns held together, and that is Sadness Garn's Tyne Silk Mohair, which is a lace mohair comprised of 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool, and that is held with Sadness Garn's Tyne Pure Git, which is a fingering weight yarn, and that is 100% Norwegian wool. The designer recommends using needle size US 6 and 7, which in millimeters is sizes 4 and 4.5 millimeter needles. The gauge on this sweater is 21 stitches by 26 rows. This sweater is just beautiful, and I find the rose design very striking. I personally have someone very near and dear to me with the name Rosie, and so I definitely plan on making this and having it forever. Maybe I'll even pass it along to her. So yeah, I think this is a very special piece. So that is the Rosie Sweater by Lanish by Lene Home Samso. Moving on to the final pattern of the video, and that is the Divino Pullover by Claudia Quintanilla. This is another beautiful top-down constructed oversized sweater, perfect for the fall and winter months. It is comprised of this beautiful slip stitch throughout the entirety of the garment that almost appears kind of like an oversized waffle pattern. And then that is paired with 4 panels of this very kind of delicate looking cable design that runs along the raglan shoulders and then along the sides of the body of the sweater. It's just beautiful. I mean, I don't really have anything to say other than it's just gorgeous. I think I may have to knit this one up myself at some point, if not this fall, maybe next fall. It just looks like the perfect sweater to cozy up with on the couch on a cold, crisp fall day. The designer uses Knitting for Olives soft silk mohair. That is a lace waist mohair comprised of 70% mohair and 30% silk, and that is held double throughout the entirety of the garment. And the needle sizes recommended for the sweater are sizes US 3, 4, and 6, which in millimeters translate as sizes 3.25, 3.5, and 4 millimeter sized needles. The gauge on this sweater is 21 stitches by 38 rows, and I don't really have anything else to add. This is just another beautiful, cozy sweater, perfect for fall. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my top 40 picks from the knitting patterns released in August 2025. If you had a favorite, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And if you enjoyed watching my video as much as I did putting it together, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to hanging out with you all again soon. Bye.